My name is Shonaya Naroni. I'm a senior at Baldwin High School. This is an oral history interview on World War II with my great Uncle Joe. Now we will hear from my Uncle Joe, who is a World War II veteran.
All right, my name is Joe Marino. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, March 3rd, 1922. I come from a family of 4 children. My father died when I was 12 years old. My mother took care of us. In 1942, when war broke out, I was drafted. Prior to that, I had gone into the CCCs so that when I went into the service, I was already used to being away from home. Now the CCCs is called the Civilian Conservation Corps, and I was stationed in Idaho.
How old were you when you were there?
I was 18 years old when I went into service.
What was going on in America?
Well, at the time, everybody was watching Europe because Germany was conquering the whole world, the whole section of Europe. And everybody was worried.
I'm sure you have friends and stuff that were with you when you got drafted that maybe they didn't get drafted or something. And just what was their reaction when they found out you were getting drafted?
Well,
what was your,
unfortunately, there were none of the friends of my friends that were not drafted. We were all drafted. Not one of my friends stayed home. We went into service. We all went into service approximately the same time. We all went to different outfits, but we were all drafted at the same time, approximately.
Did you serve overseas?
Yes, I went overseas in early part of 44. And we were the first American troops that went from the United States, New York, to France. We never hit England or any other country first. We went directly and landed right in Cherbourg.
I just want to know, was there training and stuff that you went through prior to the war? Like
Oh, sure. We went through several different kinds of training. My outfit went through desert training, mountain training, and regular maneuvers. We were constantly on maneuvers.
What would that be? Maneuvers?
Well, maneuvers is when it's like a fake battle, and you fight against another company. I was a platoon leader, a sergeant. You had certain things that you were responsible for, and that's what you did.
When you went over to France, did you see acts with their live action?
Well, in the beginning, sure, until I was hit, of course. You see, we went through the hedgerows in the beginning, and later on, it was in a forest.
What were the hedgerows?
Hedgerows were the Normandy, the beginning of where we started fighting.
Did you went any famous battles?
They were all famous. Anytime you were fighting, it was a famous battle as far as you were concerned. After I got hit, I spent time in Paris. I don't remember when I was hit, and I don't remember anything after I was hit. That my mother got a telegram I was missing in action.
Were you scared?
Everybody's afraid in combat. There's no such thing as, but you do what you have to do. There's no alternative. If you're in a battle, you have to do like everybody else does. You're fighting for your life.
Did you feel that it was the thing to do to be in the war?
Well, we knew what Hitler had done to many, many countries. We certainly didn't want that to happen to the United States. So that's why we were... The reason we did so well is because everybody in the United States pulled together. And this is what they didn't expect. That's why we beat two countries like Japan and Germany. we built airplanes and boats faster than anybody else. And we all fought together. And you come in contact with all these soldiers, and you just pass the day helping everybody. When I wasn't able to feed myself, somebody fed me. When another soldier wasn't able to feed himself, I fed him. People in France treated us very nice. But you have to remember, these people were torn between the Germans and the Americans. When we were in combat, we would take a town, and everybody would put out an American flag. When the Germans took the same town, the American flag went in and the German flag went out. You couldn't help these people were torn between two countries. They didn't know what the heck to do. They did the best they can, if they stayed there. There was destruction all over France.
So the Germans were in France and they were fighting and conquering towns?
When I wasn't there when the Germans took France, we were the ones that liberated France. So when you're fighting, the Americans are destroying everything in every place where the Germans are. So naturally, if there's buildings there, they're going to get destroyed. If there's any civilians there, they're going to get killed. This is war. When the Air Force bombs, they saturate bomb. They bomb everything in the area, whether the Germans are there or civilians there or anything else. They bomb.
Was there ever any threat of the Germans coming to where you were?
Only during the Battle of the Bulge. But after that, the war ended, and I came home.
Found out the war was over and you got home?
I was drunk for 3 days. Never drew a sober breath for 3 days.
My name is Jonah Anaroni. The following interview is with my Aunt Lillian, Ridgeway, discussing her experiences during World War II. I guess, well, the first question would be, what was your feeling when you found out that Pearl Harbor was bombed, and what were you doing?
I was in the movies. It was a Sunday afternoon, and the manager came out. The lights went on. It was like, and they played the Star Spangled Banner, and everybody got up, and the manager came out, and the lights went on it, like I said, and he said, United States has declared war on Japan. Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. So everybody was like, everybody was looking at it like stunned,
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I remember, it was December the 7th, 1941. And I know it was around 3, 4 o'clock. And then nobody wanted to look at the movie anymore. Everybody left, and most everybody left anyway. And then they were trying to get papers, and they had no television then.
Uh-huh.
So everybody was putting the radios on, and they would start to say the beating we took their planes. It was like chaos. It was just complete chaos, and everybody was really stunned,
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it. And a lot of people, I'll tell you, they never even heard of Pearl Harbor. And everybody was saying, where's Pearl Harbor? Where's Pearl Harbor? But everybody found out quick enough where Pearl Harbor was. But I mean, a lot of people didn't even know where it was, So that's what I was doing, and that's how I heard it. And, let's see now. Then they started, well, they always had the draft. They had the draft then, I guess a couple of years before that, then they started, with the troops and the National Guard and then the Marines and everybody, So.
How old were you at the time?
Yeah. 19, 41 and 22. That's 19. Right?
Yeah.
It was in 41, I was born 22. 19.
Yeah, right, so you're 19.
19. It's 19. Seems like forever. It's 19. Yeah.
Was it hard times when the war was going on?
During the war,
Yeah.
it was very hard time. Like as far as one of the major things was the oil. You couldn't get oil, to heat your house.
Mm-hmm.
And the oil truck used to come around maybe once or twice a week, and everybody had to go out with their 5-gallon oil can because it was rationed. And but we didn't care. You know what I'm saying? Who cared? And we'd stand on line, freezing, and right, lots of times it happened to me. I'd be there, standing on line with my oil can, and in the snow, whatever. And we'd just get up to the oil truck, or I would, and you'd run out of oil, and you wouldn't get any oil till the next time. And it happened to a lot of people. Depends on where you are on line. And then the meat was rationed. You couldn't get as much meat as you want. They gave you a coupon book. And then when you went to the butcher, because they didn't have really like supermarkets then, it was all the butcher, the grocer, And when you went to buy meat, you were allowed so many pounds or so much of this, so much of that.
Mm-hmm.
And you could use it all up at once if you wanted, but then, if you wanted meat a week or two later, you wouldn't get it. Then they keep sending you new coupon. And shoes, the same way. Shoes were rationed.
Really?
Yeah, you had to have coupons for shoes. Yeah.
Wow.
And the girls in the nylon stockings came out. They weren't rationed, but because those days they were rayon. And when the nylons came out, it was something else, And somebody said, "Ooh, this store's got nylons." It was like a mad rush. Everybody'd wait online to get a pair of nylons, It's
Mm-hmm.
like, but it sounds funny, but it wasn't a joke. And the same as the cigarettes. They gave all the cigarettes to the boys overseas, I didn't smoke, so it didn't affect me then. But you see in the candy stores, if they'd get a shipment of cigarette, you always knew, about 7 minutes later, the store was cleared out, because they sent them all to the boys,
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, then you read, when the war was underway, you listened to the radio all the time. You listened to the news commentators. They never had a cheery thing to say, because in the beginning, we were getting our ears pinned back, and then they had the casualty lists published in the paper. You see everybody, would look, see if their sons or husbands, whoever it was, names were there,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if the probably that came before the telegrams. I'm going by what happened to us, because my brother Howard was killed December 14th, and I didn't get the telegram until 28th of December. But they held the telegram back because it was Christmas. Big deal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And 3 days after Christmas, and it was funny. My sister had been out on a Christmas party the night before, and I got up, this was 28th of December, like I said, and I seen this fellow, it had snowed the night before, and I seen this fellow, he was trying to find the address of the house, It's funny how you you get a feeling, you know what I'm saying? And the guy came up the stoop, because my mother lived upstairs at the time, and I lived with my sister. She wasn't married then, and I lived downstairs. And came up the stoop, and I opened the door, and he says to me, "Lillian Ridgeway?" I said, "Yes." I says, "Well, that's my mother. My mother, she's upstairs." But I said to him, what is it? They won't tell you. It's not that they don't want to, but it's so hard for them to get it out, you know. And he said to me, well, it's not good news. So all of a sudden, I felt like my knees buckling, and I was in the hall, and the stairs were behind me, and I went to try to sit on the steps, you know, and he helped me in, and I had to sign for the thing. But see, they know, these telegrams have the gold stars on them, so they know those are the ones that were killed, you know. So, and I'm blinded with tears, and the guy can't stand there all day. And he says, Miss, would you mind, you know, signing it, you know? I said, of course, and I signed it, God knows how the heck I signed it, you know? So I'm standing in the hall with it, and I'm still in a state of shock, and I don't even know what to do with the thing. Then I called my sister. It was around 9 o'clock, and she wasn't up yet, because she was out on a party, like I said, the night before. And I'm yelling, Eleanor, I won't go upstairs, because my mother's sitting at the table. And I'm yelling, come down here. She goes, all right, what are you howling for? I said, come down here. I said, I've got something to show you. And well, she came down in 5 minutes. I says, now look, I said, you better brace yourself. I says, don't ask me how I'm standing. I says, but Howie's been killed in action. She started. I said, stop it. I said, stop it. I says, we have to tell Mama. Mama's upstairs. We got to tell Mom. And she was walking around the room like that. And I'll never forget it. That's how long ago it is, you know. She's walking up and down. So I didn't know what to do with her. So I took my fist, not really my fist, I took my hand from the floor. I came up from the floor. She was hysterical. From the floor, and I smacked her right in the face. That was the only way that I could bring her to her senses, you know? And I says, we have to tell Mama. So that pulled her out of it a little bit, but then she started crying. The two of us go upstairs. I go up with the telegram in the back, on my back. And so I go upstairs, and I look at my mother. She didn't say one word. Second, you know what she said to me? Give it to me. She knew. Give it to me. And that was number one. Then 3 months later, we went through the whole thing again. It's a thing that I said, unless it happens to you, nobody knows what it is. No one. And you never get over it. I don't care what they say or anything. You never get over it. First of all, you know they suffered. You don't even see their bodies. Even if they bring them back here, you know, you live with it all your life. You want to see the telegrams? I got them. It's then when they were put in the permit, and they don't warn you, they when they were put in my brother Howard was put next to Earl, they wrapped the coffin in the flag. Without warning, they send you the flags to the house. Here's your son were wrapped in here. You know, they have the folded, the military wear. Who cares? They get 2 flags. When my sister went there, she was talking to an American soldier, refused to come back to the United States. He wanted to stay over there with his buddies and his comrades, the ones that died. And you know what he told me? And that's all my sister had to hear, you know. Your brothers and everybody else in the cemetery died for nothing. That's what he said. And he says, I don't want to go back to the United States. I want to stay right here and take care of them. He still worked there just to be with them. And this is right from the horse's mouth. You know, the heck with all the politics and all the political angles and all stuff like that, you know. He was 18. How old were you going to be?
I'm 17 now. I'm turning 18.
He was 18 in June, and he was dead in March. He could take a year older than you.
Okay.
And my brother Howard was a real old man. He was 21. Right? Cannon fodder. That's what it is. I have a record. My brother's voice, Brother Howard, playing on the machine. It was funny. He sent it to my mother, and I was out. And when I came in, you know, she was playing it. And I said, oh, Howard's home, Howard's home. I run up the stairs like I was going to get 2 broken legs. It was the record. It was so real. I'll never forget that. I could have swore that, you know, it sounded like he was just there, you know.
Mhm.
He went through so many battles. It's a card my brother sent to my mother. I have some of their letters. So I have their dog tag numbers. Here they are. I knew I had them. You know, I kept them. This is, I don't know which, this is Earl's. See, Earl was missing first. This one was Earl's. Then a week later, they sent another telegram confirming it, that he was killed. Why he was missing? Because he was in combat. The Germans took the town over, and the Germans won't let the Americans claim they're dead. The following week, the Americans came in and took the town back. Then the Americans claimed they're dead, and that's how he was found, you know. That's something.
And it was right before the end, too.
Yep.
Another 6 months, it was
Yep.
over.
Yeah, what? He was
Right.
killed in March, and the war was over in June.
Yeah.
In June, and you know, my brothers couldn't wait to be drafted. Not my brothers. My brothers enlisted. If he would have waited another couple of months, especially Earl, you know, he would have been alive. He would, and my brother Howard was, he had to sign up for the draft because he was 18, but his friend was a year older than him. He wanted to be with his friend, so he couldn't wait to get drafted. He enlists with his friend. That's how he went. And Earl too. And Earl said to me, he came home Christmas, it was December, and my brother, like I said, he came home from Christmas to New Year's for a week's furlough because he was going overseas. And I said, look, I says, let's see. I says, you know, because Howie was killed, maybe we could get you out. All patriotism, my brothers, my nun, and everybody says, oh, well, you're prejudiced. I'll tell the world I'm prejudiced. How many people got out? How many people got easy jobs? I could write a book on all this stuff, you know, and this is all true. And he says, no, Lil. He said, how can I get out of the service or even try? He says, first of all, I enlisted. Second of all, he says, my brother gave his life, and I couldn't look myself in the mirror if I tried it to get out. Exactly what he said. The two of us went downstairs to get coal for my mother, you know, for the fire. And on the way down there, you know, he said that. He says, I'll never be able to look myself in the mirror. He was 18 years old. He had more brains than men 50 today, I could tell you. More brains. Look at how beat up they are. But they're my little treasures. I wanted to, you get all kinds of letters. You know, you want to read those letters. This letter was the only letter that Earl had time to write. It was written February 16th. But it's on German stationery. Read it, if you can. A kid 18 years old wrote like that. I'll show you him. Here he was 15 here.
Are you in the picture too? Or
No, that's my
Mhm.
sister.
your sister?
That was taken in Coney Island. He was a good-looking kid, I'll tell you. Now, of course, he's my brother, but he was good-looking, I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote like a man, you know? That's the only letter I got from him. It's the only time he had the, time to write. That's the only letter he had time to write, He had such a sense of humor. So, Earl, he was very witty. He had that dry wit, Oh, here's my brother Howard. They're fading, Here's Erwin's the baby. My mother had a job once in the summer up at a children's camp, and she had to take Earl, he was the youngest with her. This was the nurse there. She was caught stealing him during the night. They caught her on the grounds running out with him. Do you believe it? I don't believe it. Oh, here's Earl. He was in training here. He was 18. Here he was when he was 15.
Tall boys, huh?
Huh?
Very tall.
Oh, yeah, he was tall. Yeah. Howard was tall. Howard was tall, too. But he was about 6. But Earl was like, he was 18 years old. He was about 6'2".
Yeah, you could see some
Yeah, look at his legs.
tall
Yeah,
thing.
he used to play basketball. But he was that summer, you ready for this? Well, he was in high school. The scout from his school called the Giant Scout because he was such an excellent baseball player. They were going to farm him. They went down for tryout. They were going to farm him out in the rookie giant thing. In July, in August, he goes away. He enlists. Okay? And he gave up basketball because he was getting a trick knee because he liked baseball better. He was an excellent player, outstanding, Yeah, he went for a try. They would take him right away. Then he goes and enlists. What are you going to do? Yeah, you could see, my sister's no shrimp. And he's 15 years old. He lived with Item. Yeah, he was very tall. Both of them were. I was the shrimp of the thing. See, it's starting to fade a little,
Yeah.
But he wrote like a man. I think he's an 18-year-old kid, right? Then the rest of it from my brother Howard. And all the time, wherever he wrote, it was, I could just show you, they never wrote where they were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was always, this must be part 3. He writes, they write somewhere in France. That's what, this one is to my mother. December 22nd. I have to go through them all. You know what it is? They're not together, the letters are not together. But on the title there, it says on the top, somewhere in France, somewhere in France.
Right.
Oh, here's one here. Somewhere in France. They can't tell you. Then when they do write a letter, all this stuff is censored anyway. And if you write something there, the censor cuts it out. My brother Earl was funny when he wrote, I think he got 2 letters to my mother. And on the envelope, he'd write nosy, meaning for the censor, But then nosy. And then they said that this is the album of his, he was a 60th combat engineer. That's a
Right.
very dangerous branch of the service too. It's like the infantry too.
Mm-hmm.
And this is they send it to you, all about what they do.
Stuff
The
he
work
did.
that they
Yeah.
do.
So we still keep all this up. This is all I got, and I'm telling you, not only that they were tall and nice looking, 2 of the finest boys, Flora. When they were killed, there used to be a deli where they used to go. This woman took it so bad, you think she was their mother. Unbelievable. She said, well, I have so many, young people, she said, but your brothers, she said, if I had my way, she said, I would erect a monument to the 2 of them. She idolized them. They were such nice guys. The world just says it's not true though. They were such nice guys, I'm telling you, and they adored my mother. Oh, they were so, everything was, you know, Mom, this, like Earl wrote, anything happens to me, you know, take care, Mom. But, as I gonna say, this woman took it as bad, I think, as we did, you know? She like, I think the woman, she was sick. It's, no joke. So first we were gonna have them brought back here. Then I said, my mother was so sick after, I mean, 3 months later, the other one, I mean, how much can you take, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And she brought us up without a father. She brought the 4 of us up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then we says, no, a year or two went by, she wouldn't even, she called it blood money, she wouldn't even sign the insurance forms to collect, not that I cared, it was her money. Big deal, a lousy $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
She wouldn't even want to sign it. So we says, look, Mom, you know, my sister, everywhere we went, my sister was on one side, I was on the other side. We walked her, took her to the stores. They used to have block parties then, you heard of them, for the veterans that came back from the war. We didn't know what to do with her. Because I was happy for the ones that came back, but everybody's rejoicing. What were we rejoicing? The loss of 2 brothers and 2 sons she lost. So we used to try to take her to the movies, and everywhere you went they had the war pictures on. We didn't know what to do, and we had to get her out of the house, you know. And we tried to pick a movie that, was I going to say, wasn't, didn't have a war picture and them getting bombed and you name it, you know. And, but I used to dread when you see, block party here, block party there, and I was having a good time, and I said, used to rip our hearts out. And then if you had a serviceman, in the service, everybody had a flag in their window, you know. It was a blue star. And if someone was killed, then you had the gold star. We had 2 gold stars hanging in the window. It's all right, but it's too much politics, you know. See, my brothers were very young. They were very patriotic. Before, when England got in the war first, my brother Howard, he wanted to sign up, which he did and wrote, to the RAF. He wanted to join the the Royal Canadian Air Force. They wrote back, and they said, if you want to join the American, your own Air Force. And he was, but I told you, this friend of his had a broken nose, and they wouldn't accept him. So my brother wouldn't go in the Air Force. Then, when he was inducted, this fella, they put him wherever, and my brother went with him because they were buddies. But he tried to fly for England before we got in the war. Everybody, it was funny, had pictures of, I guess, Betty Grable, movie stars, whatever, in their lockers, you know, during the war. You opened my brother's locker door, you know who he had hanging in there?
Mother.
Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria.
What is the English?
Queen Victoria.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm. They used to say, you know, what is it with you, Ridgeway? You know? And he was a very, well, see, it's hard to explain unless you know them, you know. He had lots of times to get promoted for stripes. He wouldn't take a stripe. He wouldn't take a stripe. He didn't want a stripe. Nope. Nope. The only thing he did take, well, he qualified for that, but the stripes he didn't want. He says, I want to be with the regular guys. What do you call this? Expert rifleman, the
Right.
badge. And Earl had that too. They get a couple more dollars a month, you know, for the sharpshooter, expert rifleman, one of those big. And Earl wasn't in long enough to get any stripes.
I just went over these tapes. I made them back in high school. I don't want to date myself, but it was a while ago. I miss my Aunt Lily and my Uncle Joe very much. And I feel for her. She was an amazing, beautiful, wonderful woman. He was a great man, and they touched me very deeply by sharing their lives and their stories with me. I'll never forget those days. I'll never forget them. And Aunt Lily she touched me very deeply. What she went through with her family and the loss of her brothers, and sharing that story. And I hope that her voice reaches you all as well. My uncle, he made me laugh a bit. I was listening back on that, and he said he got wasted when he finished the war. When the war was over, he's drunk for three days. Yeah, I just kind of see myself on that side of it a little bit. God forbid I ever went through anything like that. And I'm flashing back to my aunt now, when she was happy for everybody who made it back, but you know, her family didn't. So I hope that what we learn from all of this is that we can just try to love each other, hopefully, and maybe war isn't the answer, because there's losses on both sides, and there's pain, and there's death. I'm thinking about my uncle. He was talking about just bombing, just cart bombing, just bombs just falling from the sky, and listening to my aunt's voice when she was reliving those moments where she had the letter in her hand with the gold star, and she had to slap her sister in the face so they could go up to talk to her mother, and just thinking about all of these moments and wishing that they were all just here, still living with us. And the courage of her brothers, and just the way she said they were just men. 18 years old. I think I was 17 when I made this tape. And it's unimaginable. And then looking at everything that's happened to me in my life since then, and everything that didn't happen in theirs, I hope that we can learn from the past and be better to each other, and just learn to love each other. God bless my aunt and uncle, and I miss you both with all my heart.